Before I introduce the American Legion number 3, our color guard, they come out here every week. They come out, march in place, present the colors, and march off, and we don't really get a chance to acknowledge what they're doing. So let's thank them in advance, can we? And would you please rise while American Legion Post number 3 presents the colors. I think it's only fitting that right after the presentation of the colors, we have the Liberty Fanfare. This was written for the refurbishing and the unveiling of the Statue of Liberty 1989, and written by John Williams, and this one is arranged by Jim Colonel. Yes, Liberty Fanfare. It's time for a march, and this one is a very famous, probably Edwin Franco Goldman's most famous march. It's called On the Mall. When this was written, it was written for the Goldman Band, which was roughly about the same time as the Sousa Band, and Goldman wanted the audience to participate. So if you feel like humming or whistling, it's la la for the first verse and whistle for the second. When we get to the trio, if you'd like to join in, feel free. Edwin Franco Goldman's On the Mall. Nice singing, nice whistling. Thank you, thank you. Our next piece is by a very prolific composer, mostly known for his band works, but he also wrote for film, radio, TV, Claire Grundman. Died just, I don't know, about a dozen years ago, maybe a little bit less. And he was a mainstay in band literature for at least 30 years that I was in that business. If you saw the name Grundman, you knew it was going to be well done. This is one of my favorite of his. It's American Folk Rhapsody number 2, and you'll recognize, I think, most of the tunes in it. Claire Grundman's Second American Folk Rhapsody. Thank you. You're going to hear a little bit more from Claire Grunman later in the program. Right now we're going to feature a composer who grew up in Spokane, Washington, and became very famous worldwide. Frank Erickson is his name, and he became kind of the guru for band music in the 50s and 60s because he was writing some real quality stuff. One of the hallmarks of Frank Erickson's writing is the beautiful melodies that he came up with. And though this is called Rhythm of the Winds, if you listen, it's really the beautiful melodies that make this piece. And you probably think that I want you to know all of this stuff because it makes the piece better, but actually I'm covering for the percussion and so they can switch instruments and get ready to play. Everybody else changes their music and gets ready to play again, and the drummers change instruments, and then they change things they hit the instruments with, and then they change music, and then they change places. Other than that, everything's normal. Rhythm of the Winds, Frank Erickson. going to take a little hydration break, and I'll be right back with some announcements. I'd like to point out that the Municipal Band is a nonprofit organization funded only by donations. And we have Zoot, our sousaphone there, and we like to have you, as you exit, throw $100 bills in there or whatever you happen to have in your pocket. And that all goes to for operating expenses. We don't pay personnel, but we have some rent to pay for our spaces and expenses, transporting things, buying music, etc. So if you can contribute any amount, we really appreciate it. There are some sponsors of tonight's program, and they would be Dr. Donna Zook and Terry and Robin Simonich. So let's give them a hand. So I've been told that the weather is going to be lots more accommodating to a concert next week, so be sure to come back next Wednesday. Mrs. Lisa Sundquist, current director at Great Falls High, will be doing the concert next week. She'll be conducting. So she's got some fun stuff picked out for you, so be sure to come back and bring some friends and neighbors. I mentioned earlier that you'd be hearing from Claire Grunman again. This piece has been played a lot. You've heard it probably if you've been to concerts here in the park before. But I mentioned that Claire Grunman also wrote for film. And I think if you listen to this and think of it as the soundtrack to a movie called Kentucky 1800, it'll all make sense that he wrote for film. Claire Grunman's Kentucky 1800. Yeah, that fun stuff, and again, some really familiar melodies. Here's another familiar melody coming up. It's, anybody from Kansas here? No. Only in the back, right. So this is the Kansas state song, but you know it better as Home on the Range. And this arrangement of it by James Barnes, who teaches at the University of Kansas, or Kansas State, I can't remember which, did a beautiful arrangement of this, explores some of the really rich colors in the band. So here we go with James Barnes' arrangement of Home on the Range. Sometimes beautiful is as much fun as high, fast, and loud, isn't it? All right, so it's time for a march. No, it's time for some... Oh, I almost forgot. We have a special guest tonight. Ladies and gentlemen from North Dakota, straight here to conduct this next piece is called The Bubbling Woodwinds. See if you recognize the style. Oh, wonderful, oh, wonderful. The story goes on this next march that Pierre Leemans met a troop of Belgian paratroopers during World War II. Leemans wasn't in the army, he was too old at that time, but he was so impressed with the quality of these paratroopers that he wrote this march that night. He sat down, wrote all night long, came up with this march. It's called March of the Belgian Paratroopers. And it's supposed to sound a bit like a marching band marching by. You'll hear it coming in the distance, and then at the end it'll fade away as we go away. And I want you to pay attention in the beginning here. People have the melody line that don't normally have the melody line, especially bass clarinet. And Justine Clifford just nails this. So listen for bass clarinet in this opening. I have to tell you, I've got the best seat in the house, and what a group of musicians. Let's give them a hand just for their musicianship. So our last regular piece before the Montana song is selections from Mr. Lucky, and if you're old enough, you're lucky to remember Mr. Lucky. It was a TV private investigator show, and but the neatest part about the Mr. Lucky was Henry Mancini wrote the music. And the best thing about Henry Mancini writing music is that John Krantz took a lot of Henry Mancini's music and arranged it for band, which means the composition was all there. He just arranged the notes to who should play it in the band, and he's a master at that. So he's going to make this sound a lot like the original soundtrack. So this is selections from Mr. Lucky, and it's Henry Mancini arranged by John Krantz. And it's one of Bud's favorites, so that's why we're playing it. Thank you so much. Thank you. So if your throats aren't too dry from all that la-la and whistling back a little while ago, come on, stand up and let's sing Montana. Two verses, two choruses. See you next week.